like at Department of Labor, at HUD, we've made a very big investment in research and evaluation since 2010. And what I'm going to talk about is some of the returns on that investment, recent returns on that investment, and how we're applying lessons learned from some of our big studies for evidence-based policy. So, and I'm highlighting our 2017 budget request because it has a number of different things that reach into our research and have some big proposals that come out of that. In the first study I want to talk about is something called our Family Options Study, which was a random assignment controls trial. What is the way we can address family homelessness for families that are entering our emergency shelter system? And we tested three different interventions against usual care, and we find one intervention is having really huge benefits, and that's providing housing choice voucher, which is not how we don't typically provide a housing choice voucher if you come into the homeless system. You typically will be on the waiting list for some time. In this situation, you come in, you get a housing choice voucher, and that had big effects not just on reducing homelessness, but also it had huge effects in reducing children's separation from their parents and reductions in domestic violence, in addition to some other benefits. So we use that evidence to make the case for doing targeted vouchers for homeless families entering into through emergency shelters, as in the form of an $11 billion request over 10 years from the mandatory side of the budget. Our vouchers are funded on the not on the mandatory side currently, but this would allow us to have a guaranteed flow of funding that matched up with the data we have from our homeless management information system about how many families are coming into the system. So that's an example of evidence-based policy. The second one is a good case study in having a long-term view on how long it takes for your interventions to show, and also using administrative data. In 2015, we followed up with youth that had been part of a random assignment demonstration that we did in the 1990s called Moving to Opportunity. And researchers found that using IRS tax records, that findings we had earlier on in that study that did not find economic benefits for parents or education benefits for the youth. It turns out 20 years later, there were benefits for the youth in terms of economic impacts, when the young adults who had been young children when they moved under this demonstration having big benefits economically as a result of moving to low poverty neighborhoods. And that is translated into a lot of new thinking about how can we help families who are receiving housing assistance find housing in neighborhoods of opportunity. And so in our 2017 budget, we're proposing both funding and some waivers to try to facilitate that. But one of the things we don't know, and this, part of the lessons here, is we don't actually know how to successfully do this well. And so this is actually not only a new program, it's also a new research opportunity to figure out how we can do mobility programs well. And finally, we talk a lot about programs and implementation, but at the heart of it is you have to have people on the ground who can effectively implement these programs. They have to be adequately funded to do so. And for our largest program, our Housing Choice Voucher program, which is about $18 billion a year, we pay housing authorities, 2,300 housing authorities, to administer that program. And we did a random moment sampling study to find out what is the right amount of money we should be paying these agencies. And we use it for two things: to figure out how much money we should be asking the Congress for overall, and then how to divide those funds up among the 2,300 agencies. So that is also, as a result of this big study that we completed, we are proposing the funding that the study says we need, and we're proposing a new formula for allocating the funds among the housing authorities. Finally, we've been talking a lot about the research, but how do we decide what research to do? That's as important as the actual research, because you have to have a long view, 3 to 5 years out. How do you decide? So at HUD, we use something called the research roadmap, where we ask the general public, our stakeholders, to tell us what they think we should be doing research on. In addition to that, we don't have all the good ideas in the federal government. We know other people outside of the federal government have good ideas. They can use our data. We have something called a data license process proposed to us, how you could use our data to study an issue of importance. Same thing with a project we call research partnerships. Come to us with a good idea and a little bit of money. We may give you some more money to be able to study this issue that has high value. All that information's at the huduser.gov website.